And now we welcome in to the podcast a former University of Delaware baseball player. He gets drafted by the Mets. Now he coaches in the Nationals organization. We have Tripp Keister. What's going on, Tripp?
How you guys doing today?
We're doing good. So thanks for coming on the pod. So we'll jump right into it. So you go to University of Delaware. You graduate in 1992 and you get drafted by the Mets. What's that like, and how was that process?
The draft process you're talking about?
Yeah.
So back then it's a little different than it is now. You can kind of watch all the rounds on the computer and things like that now. But, you just kind of knew when the draft was. And I had talked to a bunch of scouts, and I was hoping I'd get drafted, but you never really know. And I sat around the house kind of waiting for a phone call that second day of the draft. And I was playing in an adult league game up in Wilmington. So I went and played the game. And then my parents, my mom and my stepfather came in the middle of the game and were like, "Hey, you just got drafted by the Mets. You probably should, stop playing." And I went back and I walked off the field and then kind of went back and called the scout. And they said, "Yeah, I got drafted by the Mets." And like 3 days later, I went to our short season team in Massachusetts and just started playing. Started playing. So it was good. And I mean, obviously, it was after my senior season. We'd gone to the NCAA tournament, won our conference, and went to the NCAA tournament, the regional down at my University of Miami, and then get drafted a couple of days later. It was kind of a great cap to a fun career, that's for sure.
Yeah. So once you got done playing, what got you into coaching? What got you into being the job you have now?
Well, I love the game, and I kind of realized I wanted to stay in the game the whole time. As I was playing, when I was done playing, it's kind of the next best thing to playing is coaching, right? So I just started coaching, and I haven't really stopped. I still love the game the way I always have, and yeah, it just felt like I never really wanted to leave the game.
Okay, so you're the high A advanced manager for the Nationals organization, the Fredricksburg Nationals. You guys will be in a new ballpark whenever the season starts or next season. What was that transition like? Is there anything that really goes into it? Will there be anything different, so to speak, than compared to the previous years you guys were in Potomac?
Well, I'm sure there will, but that's not really stuff that I worry about. We have a baseline level of work that we have to do, and we're going to do it no matter where we're playing. It could be in the parking lot, but we're going to make sure that we get the work in and get the guys better and make sure they have an opportunity to get promoted. And so, yeah, it's going to be a lot nicer. It's a newer ballpark, it's beautiful. It's going to be a unbelievable venue, locker rooms and clubhouse, and for the fans especially, it's going to be amazing. But my job isn't really going to change because we have a new ballpark. We're going to do the same thing that we're going to do, and I don't look too much in that. I love nice new ballpark. Don't get me wrong, but we're just going to work, and we're going to keep getting guys better, and that's kind of my job is not going to change.
So you talk about the draft process and how things changed over the years between when you were drafted and now. So talk about those changes. Are there anything that really stands out that you see different as a manager now other than being a player?
Wow, yeah. I mean, the game has changed, obviously. There's a lot more information on players, the way you can evaluate players, whether it be technology, whether it be different statistics that people like. There's a lot of information. But the one thing, that hasn't changed is the fundamentals of the game. You still have to teach the fundamentals of the game. You still have to be proficient at what it is you need to do. I mean, so, there's always people always looking for shortcuts, but quite frankly, there is no shortcuts. It takes what it takes to be a good infielder. You got to field a bunch of ground balls. I mean, you can't just look at them on your iPad and get better at it. You've got to go out and field a bunch of ground balls, and you got to go play, and you've got to succeed and play well and fight through adversity. And everyone kind of asks about the data and the technology with the game, and it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's another tool, but you still have to go out and perform and play well, compete, get your at-bats, and you have competitive at-bats, get stronger, fight through adversity. Those types of things, you still have to do to be successful. So the game has changed. Obviously, I actually think players are more skilled at a younger age because with the advent of travel baseball, they play against a lot of great competition at a young age, and we never did because we didn't do that. We didn't go away for weekends and play against the best kids in the country, well, like they do now. But there also is a premium on winning, on playing winning baseball that they, because you go to a travel tournament, it really doesn't really matter if you don't win the tournament or not. You just kind of go there to showcase your talents, and if you win, great. If you lose, great. But when you get to pro baseball and even college baseball to an extent, you need to win, and playing winning baseball, being a winning baseball player is a big deal, and that's how you ultimately are judged.
Yeah. So with you being a manager, how much does analytics play? I don't know if it has, maybe as big of a deal at the minor league level, but if you look at some managers, they rely heavily on, statistics, numbers, and kind of what the decision is there. But then you look at a guy, even in your own organization, you look at Dave Martinez, where throughout the playoffs, sometimes he made decisions that maybe went against the numbers, but he thought that would work the best in the actual situation that was going on. How much does that play a role in what the decision is?
Well, I think any leader in any in anything needs to take all the information at his, that he can get at his disposal and use that to make an informed decision. Sometimes you have all the information of why you should pitch to a guy, but Davey Martinez is, 35 years of being in baseball. His experience says, this is the guy we got to get right here. So you say it's with your gut, but there's also a lot of experience that comes with, making a so-called gut decision when you're a manager, when you're why do I play my infield in sometimes? Because look, I feel like we need to stop this run from scoring right now. Now, the numbers might say you don't need to do that, but my gut tells me with this guy up, with this guy on the mound, the way it is, the score of the game in the inning that we're in, I need to play my infield in right here and keep that run from scoring. So analytics do play a big part in the game. And I think it's a great, like I always like to say, it's a great tool. It can't drive every decision. You can't just use a numbers-based decision. In my opinion, this is my opinion now. I don't feel like every decision should be based solely on analytics because it's a game played by human beings that, it's not just a number. You have to take into account how a guy's hitting, how a guy's throwing, where we are in the game, just all the factors that can go into making a decision as a manager. You have to take those into account. And you know what? Sometimes you make a wrong decision, if you will, and it turns out right. Or you make a decision that you don't, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I did it and it worked out. For example, I'll give you a great example. We have a lot of spray charts in the outfield and in the infield, but sometimes I always tell our outfielders, because I was an outfielder, I have I work closely with the outfield group, and I always say, look, if your gut is telling you something that's different that's on the paper, I want you to go with your gut, because, a right-hand hitter's up and he keeps fouling the ball off over the first base dugout. He's late, but yet we're playing him to the pole. If you recognize that this guy's not getting around, maybe the guy's not seeing the ball well, or maybe he's just not feeling good that day, by all means, move over to right center, and trust your gut. Because a lot of times you've been playing baseball your whole life, and here's some guy who's just is looking at numbers and a spray chart and saying, this is where you need to play. Well, sometimes your gut tells you need to move over. And you would think that sounds pretty basic, but it's not. I mean, quite frankly, I want the players to think for themselves. I want them to go with their gut. And I feel like that's creating the best baseball player we can. And did they take all the information in? Absolutely. But also they took in new information that he found. Well, this hitter's not getting around on this pitcher, so I need to move over. And that's what I think you take all that information, you use the analytics to the best of your ability, and I think you just make as many informed decisions as you can over the course of a game.
Okay, so Obviously, over the course of your years, you've watched players grow and develop into the players that they are today. What's it like, and like, what's that feeling like that you get when you see a player that's successful in the majors after playing under you in the minors?
Yeah, that's why you do the job. I mean, that's the job. Everyone that kind of touched that player, if you will, like from a scout perspective, and then you sign that player and you put him in your organization, and you have a team of people that we're all here to do that, to get players to the major leagues. So that's a big deal. And I don't ever feel like it's ever one person. I think that player deserves the credit, but a lot of people have kind of helped that player and touch that player, if you will. The strength people that we have, the trainers, the strength coaches, there's a lot of people that go into motivating and the daily grind, if you will, in professional baseball, and to see that thing through and see that player, reach his goal of getting to the big leagues. I mean, that's a great day. It's a great day for a lot of people. Trust me. It's a great day. It's not a good day. It's a great day. It really is.
Okay, so we look back at probably some of the guys you had. Juan Soto comes to mind because obviously he was one of the more recent players, but the way he rose through the minors, going from, A-ball to the MLB in such a short span, was there something different that you saw, right off the bat that you could tell, hey, this kid's really got potential, that he could make this, the rise, or was this kind of like something that was caught by surprise?
Yeah, no, he was definitely not a surprise. I mean, you kind of heard about him, knew about him. The thing that just jumps out when you're around Juan every day and you watch his at bats and you watch his work before the game is, especially offensively, obviously, but his plate discipline, his strike zone recognition, and his approach offensively were just above, everyone else that you'd ever really been around. He understood what he was trying to do. He was not going to swing at balls. He gets over aggressive at times and he might expand the zone, but that's part of what makes him so dangerous is, man, if you throw him a strike, he can hit it. He can hit it out to any foul line to foul line. So he's a special kid but heck, he's one of the ones where you don't have him very long to realize this guy's, going places and not going to be here. And the way he plays the game with such passion, with such enthusiasm, he rubs off on everybody else. He, like they always talk about, the great players make everyone around them better, in any sport, and he's that way. He makes everyone around him better. I mean, Anthony Rendon is very similar to that. He's a special person as well, in a different way with Juan. And, he's a little bit quiet and he's very calculating in what he's doing, and that's great, phenomenal work habits, but he's just the consummate professional and teammate. And there's really another one that's, you watch him go about his craft, offensively, defensively, and it's special. It really is. There's those guys like that are fun to watch. Steven Strasburg is another one. We got a chance to have him as on a couple of rehab starts, and you get a chance to watch him, not just perform, but like his work and everything that goes into leading up to a start. And, quite frankly, it's a separator for him. That's what he's a big routine guy and continues to work no matter what level he's pitching. And it's amazing to watch those guys, and it's great to be around them, and they rub off on everybody else in such a positive way.
So about those rehab stints, is there anything they've taught you, the players have taught you, that have kind of made you change your mentality or your thought process and the way that you manage a team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I try to talk to those guys because, first of all, anytime you have a clubhouse of, at our league, we're high A ball and Carolina League, and guys are 2 steps away from the big leagues. And if you think about it, anytime you get a big leaguer in a locker room like that, it makes everybody kind of raise their game, right? It makes all the players, their attention to details a little better, and they can talk to a big leaguer and ask questions. And that's why I always try to find something to do. Are we doing this right? Is there anything else we should work on? Like, I remember I was talking with Zim when he was down playing some first, and I was like, hey, what do you guys do with your first base positioning? Should we do it differently with our guys? And just little things like that you always talk about, little nuances of working with things, ways to help your guys so that the transition to the big leagues is seamless, or we're being consistent with our message, even if it's something little as your footwork at first base or, whatever. But that kind of continuity and that synergy does matter to the players. And so, yeah, I try to talk to them all. Jason Worth is another one. Obviously you guys being Phillies fans probably remember Jason Worth, but he would come down and people don't realize that Jason was such a phenomenal base runner. If you look at the way he stole bases, and he and Chase Utley were for a long time number 1 and 2 with stolen base percentage, in the big leagues, having the best stolen base percentage. And maybe Utley was number 1 and he was number 2, or vice versa. But Worth was such a great base runner, and he would talk about with the guys a little bit about base running and stealing bases and picking pitches to go on, and just little things that that make my job a lot easier, and it makes my job better because now these guys have a little different way coming from somebody else, and it's always beneficial when it comes from another player too.
Now, I've gotten to know a lot of guys down at the South Atlantic League with the Shorebirds. Of course, you coached at Hagerstown, so I've gotten to know them and processes and some of the managers there, and those guys. But when they go down to spring training, obviously the spring training for the minors is a little bit different since the season starts later. How do you go about evaluating talent in spring training? And say, if you have two guys with similar skill sets, how do you decipher which one gets the job, to start?
Yeah, it's funny. The way that we do things with the Nationals might be different than other teams, but it's and it might not. I don't know. But the way that we do things is, if you're a coach, if you're a manager, we stay out of the scouting and evaluating deal. When they give us a player, we try to get that player to be as good as they can possibly be. And the decisions that are made to cut a guy or promote a guy or whatever does not fall at our feet. Are we asked input? Yeah, we sure are. But so if there's two players, we get them as good as we can be, good as we can possibly get each player, and let someone else decide where they go, what role they're being used, that kind of way. So let the scouts do their job, and that way the scouts are doing their job. They're not talking about, developing the players. They give them the player-to-player development. We have great synergy with our scouting staff, so they give us, kind of they give us a great description of what the player's strengths and weaknesses are, what his tools are, and we throw them into the system, and we try to get them better, man. Put them in positions to succeed, work on their strengths, work on their weaknesses. And my bosses, like our coordinators and our minor league directors and farm director, people like that, let those guys make those decisions on players. And they give me 50 players. I'm trying to get 50 guys to be as good as they can possibly be. That's kind of my role, and that's what we do. And I like what we do because we got a good blend of old school scouting. We look at the data, all the data that's out there, whether it be strike zone discipline, whether it be spin rates with pitchers, whether it be exit velocity, whether it be you name it. We look at it all and use that to help the player be the best version of themselves. Quite frankly, that's what we try to do.
So before a game, what's your way to try and motivate the guys to go out there and be their best? Like, what's your gold speech right before the games, if you have one?
Well, I don't know. I don't really have a speech of motivation before games because I feel like at this level, when you start playing high levels of baseball, you shouldn't be needing me. You shouldn't be needing me to get you motivated because, just the idea that this is your job and you could lose it, is motivation enough. Now, is there time we need to get everybody pulling in the same direction? Of course, and I try, my kind of thought process on team meetings and speeches and all that is I don't want to do that every day, because I feel like then when I really have something to say, then it kind of gets lost because this is just him talking again. So I pick guys. There's guys that need to be motivated kind of individually, and there's times that the team needs we need to make sure that we're doing things properly, and we got to clean some things up, or we got to be better at this. And I like to do that before a game, but I also like to I like to let players play, man. I love watching guys. They're here for a reason. They have talent. And do I have to push some buttons sometimes? Absolutely. That's what bosses have to do. There's no doubt. But I also like to let kids play, and and I don't want them worried about making a mistake. I want them playing reckless and fearless, I should say. I want them to be smart, but I want them to be fearless. And I really do. I really do pick my spots to motivate, but I try not to do it all the time. If you need to motivate your team that much all the time, I mean, team needs to be motivated more on its own,
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's it like as an organization, to finally get through the playoffs, get to the World Series, and get the ring?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of why you do this, I mean, if you think about it, that's, it obviously took a lot. I mean, I've been here since 2012, I guess my first season was 2012. I guess the end of 2011 is when I got hired. So I've been here a while, and we've had so many heartbreaks in the playoffs, and to finally go through the postseason run like we did and win a Game 7 the way that we did, and then come to find out all the, who knows what was going on, but just to beat the Astros now and to recognize all that, that was, it was very, very, it's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
Okay, so I listened to an interview with Bryce Harper last week, and not gonna bash on Bryce Harper or anything like that, but he talked about when he realized that the organization went out and got Corbin, he said something along the lines of, they're gonna go out and they're gonna win the damn World Series. Mm-hmm. Was that the feeling in the organization, that you were always one pitcher away?
Well, I didn't look at it that way. I thought we could have won the World Series. I thought we had the roster for a while, and for whatever reason, didn't know why. Obviously I'm not up there day to day, but I know the quality of people in that locker room. I know the talent that was in that locker room, and for whatever reason, whether it's those phrases, couldn't get over the hump or couldn't win the big, whatever it is, I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but we couldn't get past that first round, and so I felt like we had the roster for a couple years. So to have that, if that's what Harp thought, that's great. But we've had expectations here for that for a number of years, and that's been fun. I mean, quite frankly, working for a team that's trying to win every year has been fun. I mean, that's every win. Every game is a must-win with us since I got in this organization, 2012. And that's a cool way to play if you think about it, as a fan too. And that's not every organization can say that. There's some teams that have, whether it's tank or whatever you want to say, that they're.
I mean, my Orioles suck right now, so I mean that's just.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great baseball town, and they love their baseball, and I don't know that I'll just talk about us. We've tried to win every year. We're trying to put a team out there to win a World Series, and that's a fun place to come to work every day and try to live up to those expectations, because that's what you play for, to try to win a World Series, and that's why you do this. And so yeah, those expectations are great. Trust me. That's I didn't realize. I saw that Harp said that, but I didn't realize that he felt that way. But yeah, Corbin was definitely, as the way that Corbin, as selfless as he was, to pitch in relief a lot in the postseason. He pitched some huge innings and gave us some big innings in relief. Was tremendous, and it really was a big part of us winning, really.
So with the Nationals winning the World Series, did that kind of have a trickle-down effect on you guys and other organizations, the other minor league teams?
What do you mean?
Did it kind of create like a mindset that to change the mindset of we can do this, you know what I mean?
Well, we had that mindset.
Yeah.
So that's not kind of the way that you have to approach everything. I mean, we're gonna try to win and it's not about the results at our level. It's about the process. We've got to make sure that guys, we talk about it all the time, where we're not just creating major league players. We want to create championship major league players. We want to develop championship major league players. And I feel like we've been doing that. We've been working towards that goal, every year, and just finally, things have to go right. I think you guys understand. You have to kind of, whether it's catch lightning in a bottle, and yet maybe this is your year, and you catch some things right, and we did, and we kind of got that momentum, and we started playing great baseball, and we just kept going, and it's been it's a great ride, but it didn't give any. We're not going to change the way we do things now because we're World Series champions. We've been doing it that way, and it's great to have that feather in our cap, and that they can't take that away from 2019. But the next time we play, we're going to try and do it again. I know that. I know that's how our organization thinks, and that's why they have us here. Because we're not going to rest because we just won one. Let's keep going, and let's try to be as good as we can possibly be. Really, that's ultimately what we're trying to do as in development. That's what we're trying to get out of our players and out of our organization, really.
Now, an argument that I made over the offseason, like looking ahead to this season with, fans that are friends that I have of, the Nationals and stuff like that, I said, something along the lines where I wasn't sure how at the major league level the pitching would be this year with, the way that the bullpen was stretched last year and the starters going in. Now, I could be completely wrong by saying this, but does it hurt, or not necessarily hurt the offseason process, but does it set back pitchers pitching that deep into the postseason and having a guy like Corbin and Strasburg, also in Scherzer, in fact, not have full rest in the playoffs and kind of pitching on short rest continuously? Does that have to mount their recovery in the offseason?
Well, of course. Anytime you're pitching into, we played a Game 7 in the World Series, so we went to the final game you could possibly go to, which I think was end of October, and then you're talking about a shorter, rest time to spring training, a shorter turnaround to spring training. So there definitely is concerns, and you're talking about with the pitchers, but you talk about Scherzer and Strasburg, those are elite preparation guys. Those guys don't take much time off. So you're talking about, and I don't particularly know Corbin's, rehab, and I don't know his routines, but everyone has told me that he fits right in with those guys. And don't forget about Anibal Sanchez, and because he's a tremendous influence on that group too. And those guys know what they had to do to get ready for spring training, and they came into spring training, ready to go. Now, the interesting part is how everyone's going to respond to what's going on now. I think, and that's the uncharted waters and the uncharted territory of this time that, I don't know if anyone really knows how that's going to play out. I really hope that everyone stays healthy from a standpoint of the virus. And then once we start playing baseball, I think there's a whole host of things to talk about, whether it's safety from the virus, whether it's, health from a baseball ramping back up in a hurry. I just think it's unprecedented what we're going to go through, and I hope everyone can stay healthy with it. But yeah, that's definitely something to think about as we move forward here this year.
So what do you think would be the best way to kind of get back into the swing of things with baseball once everything calms down and passes by? What do you think is the best way to go into it?
I think I'll answer this question with the assumption that we can play safely for everyone. That's the players, the umpires, the clubhouse attendants, everyone has to put on a baseball game. Let's, if we can work on that assumption, which is a big assumption, but I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to talk about from a health standpoint of playing baseball. I think there's going to be a 3-week get back to spring training again, because it's been 10 weeks since, I think 9 or 10 weeks since we left spring training. I think it's 10 weeks today is when I got home. So, I think the at-bats and the position players can get ready in, 3 weeks, but I worry about the pitchers. I wonder how that's going to go. It's going to be a hurry up and go. I wonder how much the pitchers have been throwing, wherever they've been quarantined or wherever they've been. I know Florida right now has opened up, their complexes. So I wonder if guys are down there, if they can go and work out. I don't know, but I think that's going to be on a per person individual basis, how they've been able to keep their arm, especially the pitchers, keep their arms in shape over this time off. That's the big deal. Because I think the position players will get their at-bats, and they'll get, infielders will get the ground balls, and I think everybody will get ready to play. But the pitchers stretching out their arms and being able to go deep into games, and how they've been able to keep their arm strength and their arms in condition, that's going to be a big question.
So the MLB, along with the minors, of course, the minors kind of go against this, but there's the proposed plan to eliminate minor league teams. Of course, Fredricksburg is not on the list, but what are your thoughts kind of towards that, and whether you think would that be good for the whole minor league system, having an overhaul, or kind of like what are the thoughts with that?
I get that question a lot. And Patrick, what's interesting is I have never heard, definite factual information. Everything I've heard is like on the internet, through a report. I have not spoken about it with my bosses much. And when they have just kind of said some things that it's such a fluid thing. So my initial reaction is, I don't know until I know what they're actually talking about. I know that this shutdown from the virus during this time has put a big stretch on a lot of budgets, and I'm sure I'm sure it's been with a lot of minor league teams. So some of those teams that were on the chopping block or weren't, I would think there might be a lot more now that can't pay their bills, or I don't know. I don't know how this is going to shake out. I think the key is let's get the big league situation back and playing, and then I think they can kind of get their arms around the minor league stuff, because I really don't know. I don't even really know. I've heard so much, and but I don't really know what's factual and what's not, because like you said, Fredericksburg is not on the list, and whatever list there is, I saw
exactly. That's the thing is, you just really don't know. Yeah.
And then then they said there's some teams that they're talking about putting them in the leagues, but then there's no league really around there. So I don't know. I'm anxious to see how that shakes out, because obviously that's kind of where I am too. So I don't really know what's factual though. So I can't even comment in it with any type of I don't really have an opinion, because I don't really know what I'm commenting on. I've just heard, just like you have, but I would hope, I love baseball. So anytime you get more baseball, it's good. And I hate, like I saw the other day that a college program was shut down because of being able to pay their bills and college budgets. And I'm sure a lot of that's coming. And anytime you take baseball away, I think I love the sport, and I hate that would happen. I guess that's my answer.
Okay, so lastly, do you expect there to be minor league baseball, or do you see any for this season? Do you expect there to be anything?
I don't know, man. I guess I'm still being optimistic, but it just doesn't seem like that's even close to being able to happen, because it doesn't seem like there's any type of economic way to do it without fans. And minor league baseball needs the fans. And you need to get on a bus and travel, and I just don't see how that's going to happen. So I'm still holding out hope, but it just doesn't seem as if it's really possible. So now, could there be some type of extended spring training or extended instructional league down in Florida at all the spring training facilities? Yeah, I could see something like that, but I don't know that it would be a situation where the Carolina League is going to take place the way that we've known it in the past. That's what it just doesn't look good for that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tripp, for coming on. Thank you for the interview. Best of luck. Stay safe with the virus, and hopefully we see, you back out and managing, hopefully this season.
No doubt, man. Thank you, guys. Best of luck, and I really appreciate it. But stay healthy, stay safe during this craziness, and I appreciate your time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, man. Bye-bye.